They say time changes everything, but some memories don't fade, they wait. They wait in the corners of cities you once called home, in the streets where laughter once echoed, in the promises whispered beneath childhood stars. For me, that place was San Francisco, a city of fog, golden bridges, and the one person I thought I'd never forget, and never be forgotten by but coming back. I learned something I wasn't prepared for. Sometimes the past remembers you differently than you remember it. The first thing I felt when I landed in San Francisco wasn't excitement. It was fear. The city stretched out beneath the airplane like a map of memories I wasn't ready to reopen. I pressed my forehead against the cold window, watching the Golden Gate Bridge glow faintly through the fog. Somewhere beyond that mist lived Ethan Ross, the boy I was promised to when I was 9. The boy who swore he'd wait for me. The boy who probably didn't even remember 15 years had a way of changing people. But I never expected they'd erase love too. When I arrived at my cousin's family house in Marina District, the air smelled like ocean salt and nostalgia. His mother greeted me warmly, and there he was standing behind her, holding a cup of coffee, taller than I'd imagined, sharper around the eyes. "Emily," he said, smiling politely, "it's been a long time." That's when I knew he didn't remember the promise, the nights under the old oak tree, the little silver ring he gave me from a cereal box, saying, "You're my forever." To him, I was just his cousin from overseas. Nothing more. I managed a small smile. "Yeah, it's been a long time." The days that followed were strange. He was kind in that distant, surface-level way people are when they don't know you well. We had breakfast together, walked by the bay sometimes, but I could tell he wasn't there. He was somewhere else inside his phone, his late-night calls, his sudden disappearances. He worked in something he called government logistics. I didn't ask. It sounded too official, too secret, and too far from the boy who once carved our names into a tree. I wanted to believe he'd come around, that maybe, just maybe, seeing me again would stir something. But one evening changed that illusion completely. It was Grace, my college friend, who invited me out. "Come on, Em, stop brooding," she said. "Let's explore the city. You can't keep living like a ghost." So we went downtown. Bright lights, jazz music, laughter spilling out of every bar door. San Francisco was alive, while I was just trying to remember how to be. Then I saw him. Across the street, through the glass window of a dim cafe, Ethan. Sitting with a woman I didn't know. She leaned close. He smiled, that soft, familiar smile that used to belong to me. My chest tightened. Grace noticed my silence. "You okay?" "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired." But the truth was, something inside me cracked. I walked out into the cold night, down the steep hill, the sound of cable cars echoing through the streets. My hands were shaking, not from the wind, but from realization. The boy I loved was gone. The man sitting in that cafe was a stranger wearing his face. That night, I sat by the window of my apartment, staring at the fog rolling over the city. I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. That's when I noticed it, a shadow across the street. A tall figure in a hooded jacket, standing under the streetlight, watching the building. Watching me. I froze. My heart pounded. I tried to make out his face, but before I could, a car passed, headlights flashed, and he was gone. I told myself it was nothing, just paranoia. New city, new fears. But deep down, I felt something shift, like the world had just started playing a song I didn't know the rhythm of yet. The next morning, Ethan was gone again. "Work trip," his mother said. No explanation. No goodbye. I made myself coffee, trying to push away the unease. But as I stepped out to check the mail, a small envelope lay on the doormat. No name, just my address. Inside, a single note written in sharp, unfamiliar handwriting. "Be careful where you go tonight." That's when the fear returned, not the kind you feel in your chest, but the kind that whispers through your bones. And for the first time, I realized something terrifying. Whatever brought me back to San Francisco wasn't just love. It was fate, pulling me toward a storm I didn't yet see coming. The days after Ethan left felt like walking through fog. I tried to tell myself it was fine, that people drift apart, that promises made in childhood don't always survive the years. But no matter how hard I tried, the silence in that house was heavier than grief. That's when I met John Miller again. He lived next door in the same apartment complex, the kind of guy you'd describe as easy to like. Neat brown hair, a soft voice, that quiet confidence that makes you feel seen when you talk. We'd gone to the same high school years ago, back before I left the States. I barely remembered much, but he remembered everything. "You used to sit by the window," he said one morning when we ran into each other at the cafe downstairs. "Always sketching something when class got boring." I smiled. "You remember that?" "Some things you don't forget," he said, eyes lingering on mine just a little too long. Over the next few weeks, John became my constant. He'd help me carry groceries, fix the leaking sink, check in on me when he noticed my light still on at 3 a.m. He was warm, steady, everything Ethan wasn't. And when strange things started happening again, he was there. It began one night when I was coming home from work. My phone buzzed, an unknown number, a message that made my blood run cold. "You shouldn't have come back." I froze in the middle of the hallway, every sound amplified. My keys slipped from my hand. Then footsteps heavy behind me. Before I could turn, a door opened. John stepped out. "Emily," he asked, concerned in his voice. "You okay?" I showed him the message. He frowned, then looked down the hallway, scanning. "Probably some creep," he said. "You shouldn't be alone here at night." He offered to walk me to my door. I agreed, my hands still shaking. That night, I slept for the first time in days because I thought I was safe. Over the next few days, John became protective, almost too protective. He started waiting outside my office, saying the neighborhood wasn't safe. He'd walk me home, sometimes without even asking. He'd say things like, "I just want to make sure no one hurts you again." And yet, I couldn't deny how safe I felt around him. He was kind, attentive. Everything Ethan had stopped being. Then came the night of the alley attack. I was walking home after meeting Grace when a car engine revved from behind. A black SUV, fast, out of nowhere, tried to corner me. I ran, dropping my bag, heart pounding in my throat. Suddenly, a man appeared out of the shadows, grabbed me, pulled me to safety. Gunfire erupted. The SUV screeched away into the night. Before I could see his face, the man disappeared, melting into the darkness like smoke. When I turned back, John came running from the end of the street. "Emily, I saw someone chasing you. Are you okay?" He held my shoulders, eyes wide with worry. I was shaking too hard to answer. I think someone saved me," I whispered. "But I didn't see who." John swallowed hard, his jaw tight. "Then whoever it was, I owe him for keeping you safe." But something in his tone didn't sound like gratitude. It sounded jealous. That night, another note appeared on my window. "Stop trusting people who smile too easily." I stared at it, confused. Who wrote it? The man in the shadows, or someone trying to play with my mind? My thoughts kept circling back to John. He was kind, but maybe too convenient. Always there, always knowing where I'd be. And yet, when Ethan finally called after weeks of silence, all he said was, "Emily, stay away from that man." Then he hung up. No explanation, no warmth, just that one warning. It infuriated me. Who was he to tell me what to do? The same Ethan who had forgotten our childhood, who barely looked at me anymore. John was the one standing beside me. John was the one who cared. I started believing maybe he was the mysterious protector. Maybe fate was giving me a second chance with someone who truly saw me. But then, things got darker. One night, I went to thank John for everything, but his apartment door was slightly open. Inside, I saw maps, photos of me at the coffee shop, me walking home, me at the grocery store, dozens of them. Before I could step back, John appeared behind me, calm, too calm. "Emily," he said softly, "you weren't supposed to see this yet." My stomach twisted. "You've been following me," he smiled faintly. "Protecting you." From him? Who? Ethan. His voice dropped lower. "He's not who you think he is. He's dangerous, Emily. You have no idea what he's capable of." My mind spun. Everything blurred, Ethan's cold distance, the warnings, the messages. Could he be right? John stepped closer. "You can trust me," he whispered. "I've always loved you. I'll never let him hurt you again." I froze, torn between fear and disbelief. And then from outside the window came a voice I hadn't heard in weeks. Deep, controlled, familiar. "Step away from her, John." I turned, and there he was, Ethan, dressed in black tactical gear, gun drawn, eyes locked on John. "Ethan." What are you? Emily, move, he said, his tone steady but urgent. John's hand tightened on my arm. Don't listen to him, he's lying to you. My heart raced, the two men I thought I knew facing each other like enemies. And for the first time, I didn't know which one was the hero and which one was the monster. After that night, the one where Ethan pointed a gun at John, I couldn't sleep for days. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow felt alive. And the worst part, I didn't know who I was afraid of anymore. Ethan had changed. He wasn't the boy I once knew, not even close. He'd become something else. His voice was colder. His eyes are sharper. Every time I asked him where he'd been or what he was doing, he'd snap back with the same words, "Don't ask questions you're not ready to hear the answers to." He'd started staying at my apartment, saying it was for my safety. But it didn't feel like protection anymore. It felt like control. He'd go out at odd hours, leave his phone locked away, sometimes whisper into an earpiece I could barely see. And when I asked, he'd just say, "Work." But what kind of work left bruises on his knuckles and blood on his collar? John, on the other hand, was everything Ethan wasn't. He'd knock on my door with coffee in the morning. He'd walk me to work. He'd listen, really listen. And when I told him how strange Ethan had become, he didn't hesitate. "Emily, you have to be careful," he said softly one evening as we sat by the bay. "Ethan isn't who you think he is. He's been involved in things off the record, dangerous things." I frowned. "Like what?" John looked away, hesitant, like he didn't want to say it but had to. Finally, he pulled out his phone and showed me a photo. It was grainy, night vision style. Ethan, holding a gun, standing beside a black van, surrounded by men in tactical gear. "He's not logistics, Emily," John whispered. "He's a ghost, a gangster. They use people like him to clean up messes, and sometimes the mess is anyone who gets too close." My heart sank. "You're saying he'd hurt me." "I'm saying," John said, placing his hand gently on mine, "you deserve to be safe." I didn't know what to believe anymore. When Ethan came home that night, his shirt was stained with something, maybe oil, maybe blood. His jaw was tight. "Where were you?" I asked quietly. "Out," he said flatly, walking past me. "Doing what?" "You can't keep acting like this, Ethan." He turned, eyes flashing. "You think I owe you explanations? You have no idea what's going on, Emily. Just stay inside. Stay out of this." He stormed into the bedroom and locked the door. And that was the moment something in me broke. The Ethan I loved wasn't just gone. He was buried under a man I didn't recognize. The next day, I told John everything. He listened, then said the words I was secretly waiting to hear. "Come stay with me for a while. You'll be safe there. He can't control you if you're not under the same roof." And I almost said yes. Almost. But something, a small, trembling part of me, still believed there was more to the story. Something Ethan wasn't saying. So I told John I'd think about it. That night, I went home alone. It was raining. The city felt eerily quiet. As I reached my door, I noticed it, the faint click of footsteps behind me. Slow, deliberate. I turned, but no one was there. Then a shadow darted across the street. A man in a hood. Before I could react, he grabbed my arm hard. I screamed, twisting, trying to pull away, but he was stronger. "Let go of me," I yelled, panic flooding my chest. He didn't speak, just tried to drag me toward a van parked nearby. And then, out of nowhere, another figure appeared. Faster. Deadly. The stranger slammed the attacker against the wall, 3 clean moves, trained, precise. The man fell unconscious. I stumbled back, gasping, rain mixing with tears. Who are you?" I whispered. The man didn't answer. He just looked at me for a second, his face half hidden by the rain and darkness, and said softly, "You need to leave this place, Emily. You're not safe anymore." Before I could ask anything, he vanished into the night like smoke. When I told Ethan what happened, he didn't even look surprised. "Did he hurt you?" he asked coldly. "No, but Ethan, who was that man?" "He knew my name." "Forget about it," he cut in sharply. "You're fine, that's what matters." "Forget about it, someone tried to kidnap me." He turned to me then, his eyes dark and unreadable. "Emily, I'm trying to keep you alive. But if you don't listen to me, I won't be able to." His voice was low, almost a growl. For the first time, I was truly scared of him. He reached out like he wanted to hold me, but I stepped back. Something flickered in his expression, pain, maybe, before he turned away and muttered, "You shouldn't have come back into my life." That night, I sat by the window, watching the rain blur the city lights. Ethan was in the next room, silent. John had texted again, asking if I was okay. I didn't reply, because I didn't know any more who was saving me and who was setting the trap. I can still smell the candles from that night, vanilla and smoke. John had invited me for dinner. He said he wanted to celebrate the end of bad days. Ethan had been avoiding me for weeks. He barely replied to my texts, acted cold, distracted, almost angry when I asked questions. So when John called kind, gentle, and funny as ever, I said yes. I wanted peace. I wanted someone to just be there. His house looked perfect, warm lights, soft jazz playing, a dining table neatly set for two. He greeted me with a hug, and for a moment I felt safe. "You look beautiful tonight, Em," he said. "Like you stepped out of one of my dreams." It sounded flattering until I noticed something. There were paintings of me on the walls. Not exact, but close, same hair, same smile. Each one had a red streak across the background. "You painted these?" I asked, forcing a laugh. "You inspired them," he replied without blinking. "You've always inspired me." The way he said it made my chest tighten. Dinner was quiet. He barely ate, just watched me. Every time I looked up, his eyes were already on me. It felt like I was being studied. After dessert, I stood to leave. "It's getting late, John. Thanks for—" He slammed his hand on the table, hard enough to rattle the glasses. "No, you're not leaving yet." I froze. His tone was different, colder, deeper. He smiled again, but it wasn't the same smile. "Why do you always run to him, huh? Ethan, 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 it's always Ethan." My heart started racing. "John, you're scaring me." "Good," he said softly. "Maybe now you'll listen." He grabbed my wrist tight, painful. I tried to pull away, but he shoved me against the wall. "You think he's your savior?" John growled. "He's not, he's a liar. He's the reason girls disappear." I screamed. He covered my mouth. His breath was hot against my ear. "I won't hurt you if you just stay. I'll make you perfect, like the others." That's when I saw it in the corner of the room, a door slightly open. Inside, faint light revealed photographs, hair strands in jars, jewelry, trophies. "You killed them," I whispered. He grinned. "They were ungrateful, but you'll love me back." He reached for a knife on the counter, the one he'd used to slice fruit earlier. I pushed him away and ran toward the door, but he caught my hair and yanked me backward. I fell, hitting my head hard against the floor. The room spun. My vision blurred. He knelt beside me, blade in hand. "SHHH, I'll make it quick," he whispered. "You'll be beautiful forever." And then a crash. The front door exploded inward. Ethan. He stormed in, gun drawn, eyes blazing. "Step away from her, John." John laughed. "Oh look, the ghost fiancé finally shows up." He grabbed me, pressed the knife to my throat. "Back off, hero, or she dies." Ethan's jaw clenched. "You hurt her, and I swear to God," John sneered. "You don't scare me, soldier boy." Ethan moved fast, faster than I'd ever seen anyone move. 1 second John was behind me, the next he was on the floor, disarmed. Ethan hit him once, twice, rage and fear mixed in every punch. I crawled away, shaking, gasping for air. John screamed, lunged again, but Ethan fired. 1 shot. Silence. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Ethan dropped the gun and ran to me, pulling me into his arms. "It's okay, Emily, you're safe now. You killed him." I had to. He wasn't human anymore. His hands were trembling. His shirt was torn, stained with blood, not all of it his own. He looked at me with eyes I'd never seen before, haunted, raw, broken. "You shouldn't have come here," he whispered. "You don't know how many times I've been watching you, saving you from men like him." Tears blurred my vision. Everything hurt, my head, my heart, my belief in what love was supposed to look like. And in that dim, blood-stained room, surrounded by the echoes of screams and sirens in the distance, I realized Ethan had been the shadow protecting me all along. But now, I wasn't sure what saving me had cost him. The next morning, the sun felt unreal, too gentle for everything that had happened. I woke up in a hospital bed, wrists bandaged, light cutting through the blinds like thin knives. For a few seconds, I didn't know where I was. Then I saw Ethan. He was sitting by the window, bruised, his arm in a sling, staring at nothing. The man who'd always been distant, cold, unreadable, looked exhausted. "Ethan," I whispered. He turned, a slow, heavy movement, and gave a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Hey, sunshine," he said softly. "You're safe." I could barely find my voice. "What happened?" "The police, they said you're working with them." He hesitated, then pulled a small metal badge from his pocket. "CIA," my heart skipped. "You're in the CIA," he nodded. I was, technically still am. John wasn't just some guy from our neighborhood. He was part of a trafficking ring we've been hunting for 2 years. I went dark to track him. That's why I left the country. That's why I couldn't tell you anything. It all began to make sense. The coldness, the late-night calls, the sudden trips, the way he always seemed to show up when I was in danger. He hadn't been ignoring me. He'd been protecting me. "You were the one leaving notes, the one watching my apartment?" I asked. He gave a small nod. "Yeah, I never wanted to scare you, but every time I thought you were safe, John got closer." I swallowed hard. "Why didn't you tell me?" He looked down. "Because I wasn't supposed to love you. People in my line of work don't get to keep what they love. I thought if you hated me, you'd stay away and alive." The weight of it sank in, the years apart, the coldness, every unanswered message. He hadn't been cruel. He'd been trying to disappear so I could live. I reached for his hand. It trembled slightly when I touched it. "You almost died for me, Ethan." He smiled faintly. "Worth it." We sat there in silence, not the awkward kind, but the kind that says everything words can't. Days later, after the case closed, Ethan came to say goodbye. He was leaving again, another mission, another shadow. "How do I find you?" I asked. He leaned in, brushed a strand of hair behind my ear. "You don't," he said. "But if the world ever turns dark again, look for the light that flickers twice. That'll be me." He walked away before I could answer, blending into the city crowd until he was gone. Months passed. Life began to move again, slow, cautious, fragile. Sometimes at night I felt a presence near my window, not frightening, just familiar. Once the porch light outside blinked twice, and I knew he was still out there. My protector in the shadows, my first love, my ghost. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with flowers or promises. Sometimes it hides in the silence between two heartbeats, in the shadow that follows you home just to make sure you're safe. I used to think love was simple, 2 people, 1 future. But Ethan taught me that love can be a war, quiet, dangerous, and selfless. He fought his in the dark so I could live in the light. People ask if I ever saw him again. I tell them no, not really. But every time the city lights flicker twice, I feel him watching, just far enough to keep me safe. And I smile. Because maybe love isn't about holding on, maybe it's about letting someone go and still feeling them there, in every heartbeat that refuses to fade.